everyone, my name is Margot. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of English, and I'm also part of the collaborative program with Sexual Diversity Studies, and I'm one of the Grad to Grad peer counselors at the Conflict Resolution Center.
Yeah, and my name's Sam. I work at the Graduate Conflict Resolution Center as well. I'm a master's student in public health, specializing in health promotion, as well as being a participant in the collaborative program for community development. Just to introduce everyone a little more to the CRC, as we like to call it. We're an organization on campus made up of a bunch of different students from all over U of T. Like Margot said, she's in English. I'm in public health. We have physiology students, aerospace engineering students, and a bunch of others. We're all trained in conflict resolution and peer advising, and we're available to coach other graduate students through whatever issues they're facing. We see students from across the board needing support. So we're here to help support other students in an informal, confidential manner where nothing leaves the room, and we're just here for each other.
Yeah, and as we like to say, there's no matter that is too small to discuss with us, so even if you're not sure if what you're dealing with is actually a conflict, don't hesitate to book an appointment with us through the Career Learning Network, and we've got a link to our website, which you'll find below us in the comments section, so you can see how you can make an appointment with one of us. So this is our very first Facebook Live that we're doing. We're pretty new as a group on Facebook, which feels super exciting to us. And what we're going to do today is actually answer some questions that came to myself and another one of my peers, Chris Kelleher, back in November through Grad Life's #RealGradTalk event. And Chris and I sat down and answered some questions via Facebook Live, and if you go over to the Grad Life page, you can find that video. So we're just going to get right into it. Mm-hmm. So our first question, I'm sorry, I should tell you that the topic for our discussion today is motivation and gaining perspective for the new year, which we feel is a pretty apt topic for the end of the semester as you're going into the holidays and finally getting to decompress from a really crazy term. How can you come back in the new year feeling refreshed and ready to go again? Mm-hmm. So our first question is, I feel so unmotivated to finish. How can I get back on track? Do you want to take that?
Absolutely. So, this is something that we hear a lot from graduate students. Motivation is something that we all struggle with, I think. I certainly do. And it can be so challenging when, we came into these programs with so much passion and enthusiasm, and then all of a sudden it seems just to disappear. And how do you get yourself back on track? From my perspective, motivation is something that is not just impacting you, but it's impacting those around you. So, take this opportunity to have a professional conversation with your supervisor or mentor or professors in your in your school environment who can shed some light. They're often there to support you. They're great resources to try to figure out new avenues and new directions to go, and I think that opening a conversation by being honest with how you're feeling around your motivation is a really great place to start.
Yeah, I mean, as Sam was saying, so many of us have experienced this, and I remember experiencing this when I hit about year 3 of my PhD, and I had just gotten back my first round of revisions on my first chapter that I had submitted, and I was sitting down having to tackle all of these different edits that I had to make, and I felt miserable. And I was I had this existential crisis, because up until this point, I loved being in the PhD program, and it was hard and it felt like work, but I still loved it. And I could literally not bring myself to get to my computer to do these revisions. And so I really, had to reassess why I was having this struggle, and realized from conversations with my peers who were further along in the program that this is a wall that everyone hits. And I got this really amazing tip from a friend of mine to schedule manageable tasks for the day. So instead of just opening up this document and seeing pages of comments that you have to tackle, pick 3 that you're going to deal with. And this is a really cheesy thing that I like to do, but I love to put check marks, like little square boxes, into my day planner and put a check mark. When I finished one of those, it's like a gold star for adults. It makes me feel like I have a really good pat on my back.
Yeah, I love check marks. I also have in my house, I have a whole set of like shark stickers, and I'll put shark stickers on my things when I do them. So definitely getting that simple joy, saying I've completed this, making yourself feel good about incremental steps, I think is a really important way of taking into account the whole big picture and using it in little manageable portions, just like Margot said. Yeah. Something that I do to keep myself motivated in school is to actually get involved outside of school. That if I volunteer with things that are on the ground and kind of I can get my hands in it and say I'm making real meaningful change, that kind of the things that might not always feel so meaningful or important, like doing extra rounds of edits or really grinding through that last chapter of your paper, it can kind of make those things feel a little more in perspective. And if you can gain motivation outside of school, it can help drive you through your work process.
So I think like another great question that we got, because we sort of, have talked about like the importance of having a social life a little bit. I mean, this is so tied to like questions of motivation. And for me, like another hurdle that I needed to overcome was like feeling like social time was like a valid use of my time. Because I was really feeling like miserable as well in my first year of the program, and realized that I hadn't seen any of like my non-school friends in probably about a month. And so I like went to my day planner and started to actually be like, all right, I need to like block in time to see my friends, because if I'm not doing that, then I'm feeling lonely and miserable. And if I'm feeling lonely and miserable, I'm probably not producing high quality work, right? So let's move on to one more question, because we're almost out of time. What's something you wish someone had told you when you first started grad school?
So something I wish that someone had told me coming into grad school was that it's on this theme of gaining perspective, recognizing that we're all students, we're all learners, and that receiving criticism about your work, although it can feel very confronting. And I wish someone had told me in advance that, Sam, you're a passionate, driven dude, but your writing just isn't quite there yet, and be prepared for people to try to encourage you to develop it and get stronger and gain more skills. And that's not an attack on you personally, it's trying to improve your abilities in school. And so I wish someone had told me that criticism doesn't have to be hurtful. And it's something that I've had to learn by being hurt by it, and it's something that if you need clarification or a different approach of people giving you criticism, that's something that you can request, and that's something that you can ask for. And that if you need someone like your supervisor, TA, instructor to give you feedback in a way that makes more sense for you, then that's something that you can clarify and you can talk to them about. And it's something that grad students approach us at the CRC about, saying I have a conflict with my supervisor because they're giving me really intense feedback or not enough feedback, and it's making me feel really uncertain about myself as a learner and as a student at this institution. And it's something that we as peer advisors are trained to coach people through. So if you're finding yourself struggling with communication with your professor, if you're struggling with receiving feedback from your supervisor or instructors and you want more or you want something different, then at the Graduate Conflict Resolution Center, we can coach you through that in a one-on-one manner.
Yeah, and I guess to like add to that, because this is another sort of communication barrier sometimes for people, is like learning to say no. It can feel like the most impossible thing, basically, that you can do is say no. And, every time you're asked to do a new thing by your supervisor or by your department or by a peer or by a friend, you just keep saying yes. And then suddenly you look at your day planner and you're like, there are not enough hours in the day for everything that I have to do. And that, in my opinion, never leads to anything good. But there are ways in which you can say no. It is okay to say no. And again, that's like another thing that we can coach you through, because often it can be really tricky to navigate that, especially if it's your supervisor and someone you really want to impress. How do you say no to that person? So, you know, it might feel like some of the things that we've talked about today aren't necessarily explicitly like conflict, but we often see these issues leading to conflict. So if you're feeling unmotivated, or, you know, your supervisor isn't motivating you enough, both of those things down the road can lead to greater problems. So we're not here to just like help you solve problems, but prevent them. Absolutely.
And, you know, if you're finding yourself having a hard time with work-life balance, that can lead to conflict, and certainly just grad school in general is a real challenge for all of us. We're all in this weird boat together, so tune in next time for more tips from the CRC.